Hi, we're at FoundersSpace, one of the top Silicon Valley-based incubators. We're gonna make an interview with Steve Hoffman, aka Captain Hoff, who's gonna introduce us to this space and tell us some insights and inspiration about the space and about the companies here. Hi everyone, we're at FoundersSpace in Silicon Valley and we've got Steve Hoffman, Captain Hoff. Thanks for having us here.
My pleasure.
And we'd like to talk about FoundersSpace. So Steve, tell us what makes this space so outstanding?
So I think the thing that makes the space so outstanding is the startups. I mean, the startups we get here are amazing. They're from all over the world. We have startups from China, Korea, Japan, Austria, Czech Republic, everywhere. You know, Germany, South America. So it's a real blend of startups. And we get a lot of our startups from here, right here in Silicon Valley. So it's a very international thing. And what I see is the startups learn a lot from each other. So different countries have different ways of thinking. So you get startups from China, which have their own way of approaching business, and startups from Europe who think like Europeans, and then the South Americans, and then the native Silicon Valley people, all approaching the same problems, but with different perspectives and different techniques, and you learn a lot from the others.
What would you say is like the crucial element of a team spirit of every single startup that makes them really succeed?
So you can tell when you meet a startup whether it gels, whether the people on that team really, they inspire one another. So what you don't want on a startup is everybody on the team thinks alike, because then it's just like one person. So what you want is a dynamic where each of the startup founders feels comfortable. They're challenging one another. They're saying, no, what if we tried it this way? No, I think that way would be better. Let's do this. Well, what if we did it totally different? And if you get that type of dynamic in a startup, you find that those startups tend to succeed. They're very creative. They're always challenging each other's ideas, and they're always progressing very quickly.
Oh, great. And what would you say is like the unfair advantage of your space compared to other incubators and accelerators here in Silicon Valley?
We are very different from like 500 startups or Y Combinator or Techstars, other of the top incubators here in Silicon Valley. The one thing we have done very well is we have developed an international program. So a program that's very good for startups coming to Silicon Valley from all around the world. And the reason it's so good is because we made it very flexible. So most programs, you come to them, they're 3 or 4 months long, sometimes 6 months long, and you have to stay there the entire time. And that is very difficult for startup founders. If you're coming from, let's say, Eastern Europe, usually you leave your engineering team back home because it's much cheaper to have engineers there than here. But the problem with that is that when you come here, you have a communication thing, and if you're stuck in Silicon Valley for 3 or 4 months without being able to go back home and work with your engineering team, it can be very disruptive to your business. So what we do is, instead of having startup founders come straight for 3 or 4 months, we take, and meeting only 1 day a week, which is what most accelerators do, we compress that into a single month, where it's every single day. And at the end of that month, we have demo day. And then we keep allowing our startup founders to come back and plug into FoundersSpace for an entire year. So our program is both longer and shorter. So shorter up front, our education portion is compressed and our demo day is sooner, but we give them much more support on the back end. And that, I think, is our secret sauce. And actually, Forbes magazine did an article where they ranked all the top accelerators in Silicon Valley, and we ranked #1 for startups coming from overseas.
Congrats!
Thank you.
What would you say like are some other extra values and like that you offer to young startups?
So we offer all sorts of programs that they need to get. So we understand our startups are coming from all over the world. So we have a lot of our startups, like 30% are from the US, but the other 70% are from everywhere. So some of the extra value we offer is help with visa issues. We have experts who understand how to get the visas here, what startups need to do. We have special lawyers who understand how to incorporate a your company in the United States while keeping your company abroad, so that one is a subsidiary and one is the parent company. That's really important. We have mentors and instructors here who really know how to take companies global quickly. So we have lots of relationships with big corporations that can help companies that are coming from abroad enter the US market quickly, also enter global markets fast, get the capital they need and the resources they need. So that's just a few of the things.
And what are the most appreciated activities and services that you're offering? You obviously named some of these. Like, is there anything you'd like to add?
I think, well, the most appreciated is that we are passionate, right? We really care about, all of our instructors have been startup founders. So they're not people who are just telling you what to do. They've actually done it. They have been successful, and they are actually sharing their real world experience, and then they really care. So our instructors are so passionate that people come in for our courses that are like all day long, but then a lot of times our instructors will be here till 11 or 12 at night, like just with the startups and on weekends helping them with their problems. We really care, we really want to see our startups get to that next level.
What, if you could share with us, like what was the key learning of recent days that you had?
Oh, recent.
We're all about learning, and
yeah,
we like to share. Like,
yes.
What was? Could you name? Could you say one of these? At least one.
Okay. Yes. Sure. So, we are right now. FoundersSpace is expanding quickly globally. So we're setting up operations in China right now. So I'm learning a huge amount about China and like how business works in China, how deals are done in China, how you get stuff moved forward. Now the Chinese, they all want you to sign an agreement, an MOU, right away, even before, when you just start talking. They're like, let's sign an MOU. And you're like, well, we don't even know what we're going to do together. We don't care. We're going to. So one of the things I learned is you just sign them. You sign those MOUs. That actually is part of getting the process started, that formality. And the MOUs, when you read them, they're like a deal to do a deal. They don't really have any terms in it, except says that we're going to be working together. And so that tends to be how you get going with Chinese companies, and then you work out all the details later. And the other thing I learned is that those details that are in the contract are always changing. So, so the contract really doesn't matter. It's more about the relationship you're forming with them that matters, and the business. And even if you put it in writing, it may not necessarily be that way 3 or 6 months from now.
So would you think like this is something we should all learn from? You know, like
if you're gonna do business in China, you have to learn that.
But not here in SV.
It's in Silicon Valley, it's very different. So we're very much Americans are very much by the book contract people. If it's in the deal, we do the deal. If it's not in the contract, we don't do it. So, but in other countries, naturally, it's quite different.
Thank you so much, Steve. Is there anything you'd like to add, to share with young startups, founders, entrepreneurs? Yeah,
so I can be happy to share some advice when you're out there. So my advice for young entrepreneurs out there is don't fall in love with your idea. So you're always going to be changing you're always learning, right? So when you look at your idea, never think it's as good as it can be, or never think it's just because it's your idea doesn't mean anything. The only thing that matters is that it's a great idea, that the idea is taking off. So if you don't see, if you've been working on your idea 3 or 6 months, you should have your product already live by then, even if it's a very crude version of your product. And if that product isn't pulling you along, if customers aren't saying, I need that, this is like amazing, if they aren't saying that to you, switch your business. It may be hard. It doesn't matter that you invested 3 or 6 months in that product. The products that take off, people go crazy over right from the very beginning. And usually if they aren't, there's a reason. And that means that you would be better off finding an idea that they're going to go crazy over than struggling on this thing that it's never going to quite get there. That's one piece of advice.
Thanks for all the inspiration, Steve. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you. Great to have you at FoundersSpace.
Good.